It's been 4 months since I made a video about XDefiant, and that was also the last time I played it. My original plan was to wait until Season 3 to check back into the game, but there have been a few patches during Season 1 that caught my eye. These patches actually made the game feel better to play on mouse and keyboard. Back in April when the game was released, there were a few glaring issues with how the weapons were handling that made them feel very inconsistent, and some of those issues were even affecting controller players. When I looked into the patch notes and noticed the adjustments they made, I had to give it another shot. And well, I'm back to doing things like this. While XDefiant is nowhere near perfect, it's still a fun game. And now that they have fixed the mouse input, and hopefully it stays fixed, I'll probably be playing the game a little more often. I don't want to oversell the game though. If you have issues with how the game looks or how it handles like an older FPS title, there's not a lot that has changed on that front. Some of the animations and things do feel a little smoother though in my opinion. My biggest problem with this game was how weird the mouse input was on release. I didn't have any issues in the previous betas and I was always positive about this title. I know it's not going to be a massive overnight success, and maybe it will never find an audience as large as Valorant or other FPS games, but there is enough here that keeps me interested. A big reason for that is because the mouse input the game had felt fine. It may not be the absolute best, but it doesn't have to be at this moment. When it comes to fast-paced arena shooters that focuses on actual gunfights, we have Call of Duty, which has strict matchmaking that makes the game feel tiring after 3 or 4 matches, and that's about it. Overwatch is a fun game and fortunately does not have cranked aim assist, but it's also very team-oriented. There's only so much you can do within your role. Even as a DPS character, you can be limited by the enemy tank constantly harassing you throughout the game, or if you are a support player, it's a fun time until a DPS enemy makes you their #1 priority. After that, it's just Counter-Strike and Valorant, which are slower hipfire shooters. Then we have Apex Legends, which up until now also had major aim assist problems, and to some extent it still kind of does. But it also has issues with server stability and hit reg along with a few other problems that we're still waiting to see get fixed. Along with that, Apex Legends is a battle royale first. Sure, there are some arcade modes you can play, but it's a very shallow experience. With XDefiant, you can win just about any fight you get into, and even though there are abilities you have to look out for, and of course the annoying spider drones that might be getting removed in the future, they act more like buffers to the action instead of just a button that gives you a free kill. Yes, the game does have ultimates that you have to be aware of, but they're ultimates. It's something players have to work for and wait until it's available. It's not something they can throw out every 20 seconds. There is actually skill and timing to get most of your abilities, but most of the time that can be optional. You can definitely play this game in casual and unranked modes without really having to rely on your abilities. And if you're enjoying this video so far, please give this video a like and consider subscribing as we make our climb to 1,000 subscribers. XDefiant's ranked mode right now is probably not worth playing. Unless you have a team or are dedicated to ranking up, there isn't really a point to it. Right now, players can choose the same character or abilities. So you could have an entire team that uses the barrier shield from the Phantom faction, or 4 spider drones running around from the DedSec faction. Unless you want to have fun with that novelty and don't mind how crazy games can get with that, I would recommend to hold off for now. Keep playing the unranked modes and work on getting better with other abilities and weapons. Eventually, they do plan to restrict abilities and ranks, which may happen sooner rather than later. So if you want to experience what ranked is right now, go ahead. I just don't have any patience to deal with that. And we get a new faction with the GS Commando from Rainbow Six Siege. Their ultimate is the Flash Shield from Rainbow Six, a passive trait called Hard Hat which reduces headshot damage, and a choice of either a shock wire, barbed wire ability to slow down enemies who try to get through, or an ADS system to destroy incoming drone devices. To me, these abilities haven't been too difficult to deal with. I know there were some outrage that snipers could one-shot GS Commando players because of their passive ability, and I believe that developers are working to rebalance that. I haven't run into that many players using this faction, so results may vary. Whenever I have, it didn't feel like they were ruining the lobby. And we get 2 new maps for the game in Season 1. Well, kind of. We get a Daytona map, which is for the linear escort game mode, which I don't really have much to say about because I don't play that mode, And the second map we got is Clubhouse, which is a reworked version of the same map from Rainbow Six Siege. While that does sound a bit lazy, it actually works well. A lot of the map already has damage, and it is a static map, meaning whatever damage there is in the map was already there and you cannot add to that destruction. Not that I'm expecting to do that in XDefiant. It's clearly not the kind of game that wants dynamic destruction like Rainbow Six. Regardless, they do use a lot of the Clubhouse map and added cover throughout the map, so it's not just a 1-to-1 of the Rainbow Six Siege map. It feels like something that should not work, but I haven't had a bad experience with it. Everything else can be thrown into small but very necessary fixes and improvements for the game, from fixing animations, more fixes to the netcode, weapon and ability adjustments, movement, and more. Their most recent patch notes does mention changes to jumping and crouching, as the developers want to make sure that while they can be used in gunfights, their animations and speed are metered so that players can better read those movements, instead of what it was like 4 months ago, where players would look very rigid and felt impossible to track. The game is still fast-paced and jump shotting definitely still works. It should be a little easier now to tell when players are doing that and give you a better chance to counter it. I know some people are losing their patience with XDefiant, and since it's behind Ubisoft's launcher, we won't have a good idea of the player count. Let's not forget this game is also on consoles, so we'll never see the full picture. What I can say is I do want to see this game keep going. Whatever fixes and updates we get are going to be slow, and chances are something is going to break with each major update. That's just par for the course with many games at this point. I honestly did not expect the mouse input to get any better when I had played 4 months ago, but it works well for me now. We all want to see the next big FPS game, and we do have a couple of contenders we might see get released before the end of this year. And I think that's also part of why we're not hearing that much from XDefiant at this time. There are just a lot of new games being released, and Black Ops 6 is on its way, which a lot of people will talk about and probably hype up, even though chances are the aim assist is going to be just as crazy strong as it is now, and there won't be any changes to the skill-based matchmaking and other tiring complaints that Activision continues to ignore. Black Ops 6 will probably be a good game, and probably be the best Call of Duty game in recent memory, but I don't see them addressing the main concerns that I and many others have with the franchise. Just another reason why I want XDefiant to stick around. Not that I expect it will ever be more popular than Call of Duty or other FPS games, but just a nice alternative that does its job and I can have fun playing at any given time. And this video is plenty long enough for what has changed with XDefiant. I'll probably add some gameplay after this to help with the runtime. Don't forget to check out my channel and look at other videos I posted that you may be interested in. Let's hope the developers can keep working hard to provide a better experience for everyone and include more quality of life updates and features that is currently missing compared to other established FPS games. If you've gotten this far, don't forget to like the video and consider subscribing for gaming news, highlights, and more. What are your thoughts on XDefiant? Have you already given up on it, or are you more hopeful for this game's future? Let me know in the comments below. Until then, I'm Mr. Rain, and I'll see you next time.